If you picture the American Wild West of the 1800s, you might imagine rootin', tootin', gunslingin' cowboys running roughshod through dusty towns, fighting, gambling, and just all around acting, well, wild. Yet, according to experts, that's not really what the West was like. Take the Wild West town of Tombstone, for example. It has long been considered maybe the most violent town on the frontier. The reputation stems from an infamous gunfight at the OK Corral that rocked Tombstone in 1881. But the shootout lasted all of 30 seconds and wasn't quite as epic as it was portrayed. The truth is, things were fairly peaceful there, and violence was pretty rare. In fact, most frontier towns actually banned hidden weapons, then eventually banned any weapons, concealed or not, within the city limits. That means our visual of an outlaw strutting into town with a 6-shooter on his hip might have happened, but for like half a minute that one time. Even the Wild West's legendary desperados weren't quite the murderous ruffians we'd like to think. Take Wyatt Earp, for example. He's the lawman turned outlaw made famous for his hard-bitten heroics during the gunfight at the OK Corral. But the truth is, aside from that one unusual day, Earp spent most of his time as a lawman putting out chimney fires, helping wrangle loose pigs or cattle, and generally keeping things in order without much bloody violence at all. So, in other words, 99.9% of the time, it was actually pretty quiet and safe in the frontier towns. It's just that the 0.1% got so exciting that it became the main thing about the West that people wanted to know. Another good example is Buffalo Bill Cody, a frontiersman who became so famous that he created Buffalo Bill's Wild West show and even toured Europe, continuing to create the Wild West myth. Okay, so if the Wild West wasn't all that wild, why do we still think of it as a place full of murder, crime, rowdy outlaws, crooked sheriffs, and general debauchery? Well, the truth is, it mostly came down to marketing. You see, people across the eastern US and even other parts of the world were fascinated by the new, free, and expansive western frontier in America. And it didn't take long for entertainers to start taking advantage. Dime novels about the Wild West became popular in the mid-1800s and first helped cement the tropes of cowboy culture we still know today. In fact, one western town took it one step further and basically became the first ever theme park in the United States. The town of Palisade, Nevada was a perfectly peaceful place. So peaceful, they didn't even have a sheriff. Being a normal, boring town wasn't going to attract tourists from the nearby railroad, so the town got creative to try to lure them in. They would stage shameless shootouts and reckless bank robberies for the people passing through. In the year 1890, the frontier officially closed, but the myth was just getting started. For decades, books, plays, and movies about the Wild West were some of the most popular entertainment in the country. Tons of products were bought and sold using the grizzled image of a rough-and-tumble, gunslingin' cowboy, even to this day. So next time you see that classic image of an irresistibly cool cowboy itching to whip his pistol out of his holster, just remember, it's not real. Doesn't make it look any less cool, though.